Hello, my creative friends. Thank you for joining me today. Today is going to be about the letter X, and I couldn't think of anything, so we are going to be using 12 by 12 or 12x 12 paper. Okay, that's what I came up with. I know it's not very cute, but anyway, we're going to try and use as much of the 12 by 12 paper as possible. When I first made this one, I used every bit of it, and then whenever I tried to redo it, and make a second one, for some reason, I ended up with little pieces left over. I have no idea why, but so let me show you what the layout looks like, okay? I'm gonna set that on the side so you can see this. It's Velcro here with a collage, and it flips open. And up here at the top, you have two pockets, one on each side. And then here's a label. It flips down, right? And then there's a pocket here, and it's a little tiny pocket. Over here is another pocket because this flips open. And then here's a pocket with just little tuck stuff tucked in. This one opens and for another little tuck. And then these two, I didn't decorate the front, but I did do the insides. And this side is a pocket. Okay, so I just made that into a pocket. This is just glued down. Here's another collage with a writing pad. And then this, make sure I'm still in frame. This down here is a collage with a magnetic. Can you hear the magnet? I'm not sure if you can hear it or not. Opening, it opens with a collage. And then here's a belly band that holds two flip downs. Okay, so it's just a belly band. And then here in the back is a pocket. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to show you how to make today, hopefully. Okay, so I'm just going to show you all of the, oops, I forgot to close this up. I'm going to show you all of the ways to crease and fold everything, okay? And then it's just this little cute little wallet. It kind of looks like a briefcase to me in a way. So depending on how you cut it, as to whether it looks like a wallet or a briefcase. This one I rounded, and this one I cut angled. Okay, it still has Velcro straps. Has cute little pockets up at the top right here. Inside, I added this magnetic to hold these closed. And in here's a tuck. Here's a tuck. Here's a pocket. Tuck, tuck pocket. Let me show you. Oh, I got a little piece right here. See, right here and right here. I moved them so they're not in the same space. Here's where I put that writing paper. So, okay, we'll close this back up. There we go. This is magnetic as well. Opens. And this one has a shorter belly band and still has the big full pocket in the back. Okay, so it's just a slightly different variation of the same thing. But so therefore you can use whatever you want to close it with. You don't have to put those. Okay, so let's try this. Okay, I'm going to bring over my cutting mat, my cutting board, and my 12 by 12 paper. I'm going to say the best thing to do is non-directional double-sided paper. That is going to be the best to make this. Or just use plain cardstock without any color on it, and then add your paper to it. Okay, so that's my tip. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is cut this at 5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to cut it, line it up. I didn't line it up. Okay, line it up, cut it at 5 inches. Set this piece aside because we are going to be using it. I have to open my cutter. Sorry about that. And we are going to make this cut at 9.5. Let's see. Trying to make room here. Okay, so I'm going to put this in at 9.5. Now, save this piece. This is going to be our bottom pocket, so we need that, okay? So don't get rid of that, or any of it. Actually, we're going to use a lot of it. Okay, so now we're going to score. Okay, and I'm going to, oops, sorry about that. Get out my scoring tool. And here is going to be a little bit different. I have to, because my scoring tool only goes up to 6 1/8, I have to rotate my paper. If you have one of the scores that are long, the 12, um, then your scores are going to be slightly different, and I will give you those measurements. My score is going to be at the 2.5, okay, the 2.5 and 3, okay, and then I have to rotate my paper, and mine is going to be at the 3 and the 3.5, okay, like that. Now, if you don't rotate it, then your score marks are going to be 2.5, 3, 6, and 6.5. Okay, so those will be yours. These ones are mine. So you can see I'm going to use this as the front. So I'm going to burnish these down. I'm going to crease each one just to make sure I get a good crease going. Okay. There we go. And one more. Just fold it. Now, there we go. Okay, so now what we have is this. Okay, can you guys see the shape? And the one that we had left over from cutting this is going to go here at the bottom as our inside pocket, and it's already perfectly the right size. Okay, so we're going to sit that in the side so we don't accidentally cut that one. All right, so we're going to set this aside and wait for the next cuts. Okay, so our next cut is going to be, we have our, bring over our piece, our leftover piece, and we're going to cut this at 3.5. Okay, so 3.5. There we go. And then we're going to rotate it and cut it at 5. Okay. All right. So then we're going to set this. So we have this and this left over. Okay. We're going to set those aside for just a second. We're going to take this piece we just cut, and we are going to score this along. Let me close that for a little bit. We're going to score this along the long side, okay? Not the short side, but the long side at 1/2 inch. Okay, just like that. And we're going to fold that. All right, we're going to set that one aside. Okay, we're on a roll here. Oops, sorry about that noise. All right, now our next one, we're going to take the, oops, that extra piece of, okay, so we're going to take the short one for a second, and we are going to cut this one at 4.5. Okay, so we're going to cut it at 4.5 on the long side. See the long side? That's where we're going to cut. So we're going to take that and cut it at 4.5. Save this piece for later. And then we're going to rotate our paper and cut it at 3.5. No, at 3. Sorry. At 3. Not 3.5. 3. There we go. And then we have this strip. So we need to save that strip as well. Okay, so then we have this piece. And we're going to do one more of these. We're going to cut one more of these. So we're going to cut this one at 4.5. There we go. Okay, save our leftover piece here. And then cut it at 3. There we go. And save our strip. Okay. Now we're going to take those and score on them on our short side. See our short side, not our long side, our short side. We are going to score it at 1/2 inch. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing on this one at 1/2 inch. Okay. There we go. And I would like to make one more of these, okay? So I'm going to make one more set of these, but they're going to be slightly shorter. In fact, I'm probably going to cut off some of this so that I can have extra pockets. If you don't want extra pockets, just leave them like they are, okay? I'll show you what I'm talking about in a minute. Okay, so these ones I'm going to cut 2 more inside pockets, and I'm going to cut them at 3 3/4, I think. I think I have enough here for 3 3/4. And let me see. Let me just double check. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to cut them at 3 3/4. And that should be, yeah, they're both 3 3/4. With the leftover was completely even, 3 3/4. And then I'm going to score them on the short side. No, sorry, on the long side. Wait, which side? Sorry, I forgot to cut the other side. I need to 3 3/4 by 3. I am so sorry. I forgot to cut 3. Okay, so this is 3 3/4. So I need to rotate it and cut this at 3. There we go. And we got this little strip. I'm going to do the same thing on this one. I'm going to cut it at 3. There we go. And now I'm going to score 1/2 inch on the short edge. Okay. Here we go. And do the same thing on this one. 1/2 inch. Okay. So I can move all of this out of the way right now for just, oh, wait, I did forget one other thing. On this little piece that we had left, we are just going to cut this in half. So it is 3 1/2. So we're going to do 1 3/4. We're just going to cut it straight in half. Okay. There we go. This is going to be our upper pockets. Okay. Now we can move that. Okay, now it's time for the assembly, which hopefully should go fairly smoothly. I'm going to put in the bottom pocket first down here because I just found that to be the easiest. I'm going to notch here at the top, somewhere around the middle, hopefully. That's close to the middle. Okay, so what I'm going to do before I add that is I have these strips, right? I want to add the belly band. So let's see. Okay, so I have these two I'm going to use for the front cover. Okay, and let's see. I could use any of these for the belly band. Either one of these two for the belly band. So you can put a short belly band in right here. You could also take this strip and cut a little bit off the bottom so that your pocket is shorter, and then you could have this as your, and put it up here as your belly band. Okay, that's just an option. Just an option to do something a little different. Or you could even take it across here because this does come all the way down. So if you don't want it to come all the way down, yeah, you could take part of this off. I think that's what I did on this one. Let me check. I think that's what I did. No, it came all the way down. That's interesting. Okay, so I just checked just to make sure. But this is going to be our flap. Got my pieces. So I'm not going to put the belly band on today because I just want to show you the construction and all your different options. But you can put your belly band on, okay? Just take one of those leftover pieces and put the belly band on. So I'm just going to glue the 3 edges. Oops. Glue, glue. Okay. Line it up. There we go. Put that down. This probably would have looked better if I'd inked, but that's okay. Now I'm going to, and I'm not going to worry about that one just yet. I'm going to go to my inner pockets, okay? So with my inner pockets, this one is longer than the one the second ones I made. So in order to get this, this is where I was saying we can either leave these long if you don't want the extra pocket on the front. You can just leave these long like this. You could put them in the front like this. Either way is fine. For this one, I think I'm going to just leave them long, but you would cut this off and put it and glue it onto the front for those neat little tucks, okay? But for this one, I'm not going to worry about those extra pockets, see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this see, I have it, I'm going to turn this backwards so that this pattern is facing the front. And I am going to glue the two sides and the bottom. So I'm going to hold it right there, glue the two sides, that side, and then this bottom edge right here. Sorry, my hand got in the way. And then I'm just going to close that up, lay that right on top of this one right here, making sure they're lined up so that it creates this. And you still got this little flap in the back, okay? So you still have that. We're going to need that to glue it on. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side over here. So I'm going to turn that one that way, okay? And then I'm going to turn this one the opposite direction. I'm going to turn it this way, okay? This is what we have. I'm going to lay them over top of each other like that, so they're all lined up. I'm going to glue the two sides, this side and this side, and then right here on the crease, I'm going to add some glue just to make sure that nothing goes through. Okay, and then I'm going to line that up. And there we go. Okay, so again, oh, got some glue on there. We have this little extra flap. Yeah, got some extra glue hanging. And this will be the inside, okay? Just like that. And we're going to glue it straight onto here, okay? You know, it might be helpful if I show you the crease line. So I'm going to ink that up so you can see just that crease line. So right there. So in between these two crease lines is where we're going to put these, okay? So I'm going to see this flap. Oh, my flap is wanting to stick to my extra glue. We're going to glue this flap straight down onto right in between these two, right up on the edge, butted up on the edge here. Mine's not. Let me move it. There we go. Just like that. Okay. And then try to close it up to make sure it's going to close properly. Oops, mine is way off. There we go. Okay, got it. Now we're going to put this, do the same thing on the other side. We're just going to add some glue to our flap and put it right up on the edge here. And like that. It should hold. My glue's been taking a long time to dry lately. Okay, there we go. And it should hold. And then we can close it up just to make sure everything's going to fit nice and snug. It's all nice and smooth right there. Another thing I did was I rounded the edges of the corners. I just thought that gave it a little bit of a different look, and I like that. So this is now a tuck spot right here. Okay, that's what we created, and they just flip out. I've got some excess glue. Got some excess glue. Another tuck spot on this side, and our last flap here. Okay, so and then here is where I glued the tea stain paper. I just glued some right there, and and then I decorated. Okay, so I like to overlap these. I like to go 1, 2, 3, 4. I like that feel. Okay, and then now we got the two top pockets at the top here. What I do is I put these two together and create a notch. Okay, like that. Kind of turn one upside down. And then I glue the 3 edges. Don't glue where the notch is. And I just line it up with the top up here at the top, very tip top. And I do the same thing with this side. You can see why pattern paper or double-sided pattern paper is really well with this, because then you don't have as much to decorate. You can just, this looks pretty all by itself, you know? Okay, So I got the 2 pockets in. Let me show you those. Where did my little, oh, here it is. I have this. See, pocket, and then over here, pocket. Okay. Now let's put our flap on. Okay. I did round the edges on the flap before I put the flap down, but we're not going to have to. I'm not going to do that right now. So I'm just going to add some glue to our flap. And you could put this flap either way. You can put this side down or you could put this side down, whichever you prefer. I'm going to line it up with the very tip top of our pocket. Let me show you. I'm just going to line it up right here on the very edge of our pocket. Okay. And then fold it down and making sure I'm over enough. And that should be at the very crease right there. So whenever you lift it up, yep. You may have to trim a little bit off right there just to make sure, but it should all line up perfectly. Okay. Now, I did use one of these to create the magnetic closure. I just I put the magnet down, covered this with the magnet, folded the magnet up in this, closed this, and then rolled it up like that with our magnet right there. Okay, that's all I did there. And I used these excess strips, these extra strips. So far, this is all we have left is these strips. And I just used them. One is a belly band. I used one as a belly band. I used another one. I used one as a belly band. Sorry. Used one as a belly band. Then I used one for the magnetic closure. And then whenever it was on the front, I used two. Let me turn them so you guys can see. With the Velcro strips like this. Okay. And I just put Velcro on the insides of this, folded these over and glued it down. You can see. Just folded them over and glued them down. That's all I did with these. Okay, and then that will use up every bit of this 12 by 12 paper. So I hope you like the construction. I will finish this off, but this is just to give you some ideas on how to make this cute little wallet. This would make a great Happy Mail project, guys. Yeah, and you can come up with your own closures. You can do an eyelet closure. You can cut this to make it a shorter pocket. I mean, not pocket. Closure flap, and inside here is your other pocket. So everything comes out nice and clean. I like this, and it lays really flat. So okay, I'm glad you guys joined me today, and I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time, and have a very blessed day.